DIY.
Okay, DIYers, so I had plans to make this video the other day on actual Dilla Day, but unfortunately we had other business to tend to, and rightfully so. With that said, though, we're going to make the focus here a day after this brother's birthday, this legendary rapper, music producer from Detroit. We get the news that he has officially not only had the day in Detroit considered Dilla Day, but he's also had a street named after him. J Dilla, of course, is the legend that many of us know, that many of us have been influenced by, and it's so amazing to see 19 years after he passed away, to see him still being honored with new achievements. Check this out. This is a story by CBS Detroit.
Detroit rap legend J Dilla is being honored with his own day and a street named after him. J Dilla Street was revealed at the corner of Nevada and Terrace Street earlier today. The late rapper and producer, who was born James DeWitt Yancey, grew up on the east side of Detroit, and he died at the age of 32. CBS Detroit photographer Aaron Bryant captured today's special moment for his family, friends, and fans.
We really appreciate all of you guys for being here to share this special moment with us. So.
I was supposed to wear my jacket.
You keep saying that.
Listen.
Right. This is long overdue for my father. He made his mark while he was here, and that is no mystery. And he left it up to us, his family.
Right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Man, when you really think about it, passing away at 32, you know, I thought about this with Pac too, the amazing legacies that we're still talking about today that brothers like this left behind in such a short window of time. It's insane to think about just the work ethic in its own category, but to think about the personal lives that were created outside of it, it's a lot of living in a very short period of time. It makes you definitely want to cherish the time that you have even more.
To continue to make sure that his genius was not left behind or forgotten about.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go. Let's go. What a year for this to happen too, man. After everything that's transpired, man, what a year for this to finally happen. It's long overdue. Long overdue.
Is officially J Dilla Day.
It's exciting. You're right. It's on the street. It's exciting. Yes, we're super excited.
It's just like a moment of joy for all of us, for the family, for the fans, for everybody that has supported us along these years. We're still, grieving the loss, even though it's been 19 years. Man. And we just want to honor him in the best way that we can. To everybody else, he's J Dilla, but to us, he's James. He's my dad. He's her dad.
Now we're going to pass it off to our City Council President, Mary Sheffield, for announcing February 7th as officially being Dilla Day in the city of Detroit.
Let's go.
It was a complete honor to support and to push forward the secondary street naming for J Dilla. Thank you for sharing him with us. He will truly be missed and will continue to be missed. Every February the 7th, he will be remembered as J Dilla Day in the city of Detroit. So thank you all. God bless you all. And here is the J Dilla Day.
Let's go. Let's go. Super dope to see his daughters there to honor him on that day. Super dope to see folks from the the city officials be involved in this. Hey, yo, DIYer, if you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps this video and this channel get discovered by new people. I appreciate you. Now back to the video. Man, long overdue. And for those of you that are kind of, in the dark about the genius of J Dilla, I want to kind of use this video to go through a few different videos just to kind of give you an idea of who he is, who he was, at least in the public eye, and also to give you a full human spectrum of who he was. Because I think what happens when, especially in hip hop, when you have legends that pass away, people of course, kind of have their revisionist history. It doesn't happen just in hip hop either, right? As you'll see, I compare this even to the way that they do, Dr. Martin Luther King, and they try to make him, they try to whitewash his legacy when it's like he says some pretty gangster shit. He says some pretty revolutionary things in some of these speeches that they're like, oh, no, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about, I have a dream. And they'll, I've grown up in LAUSD, and I've seen a lot of these times it happened in the books. But with that said, I want to start here with this Voltgeist video that talks about understanding Dilla, J Dilla, and the soul of hip hop. I think they did a great job. Then I want to break down one of my favorite instrumentals by him, Don't Cry. And then we're going to get to the whole human side of the myth and the legend.
Jay Dilla died at home in Los Angeles on February 10th, 2006, just 3 days after his 32nd birthday. After fighting illness for years, he succumbed to a combination of lupus and a rare blood disease that left him so weak he was unable to walk and could barely find the strength to talk. But while he struggled to survive during his final days, he was working around the clock on the most important piece of art he would ever create: donuts.
I know that's right.
29 out of 31 tracks on Donuts were recorded in a hospital in LA in the summer of 2005, while Dilla underwent a number of invasive and expensive procedures, including dialysis. He made the album with his mother by his side, massaging his fingers when the pain from his illness made him too weak to control his sampler and record player. After some delays, Donuts was released on February 7th, 2006, Jay Dilla's birthday. His friends Madlib, Peanut Butter Wolf, Egon, and J Rock visited him on the day of the album's release, only to find him at home, unable to speak or even gesture weakly. 3 days later, Jay Dilla went into cardiac arrest and passed away at the age of 32.
Like, this is part of the legend that we talk about. Obviously, he's had an extensive production credit list of artists that he's worked with, and we're going to talk about some of those artists along the way. But it really was about this project right here, this Donuts project. You know, I was familiar with a lot of his production. I wasn't so familiar with the story. Like I told you, I've had a very strong West Coast bias coming up, and so I kind of appeared late in a lot of these stories. But by the time that I reached here, I already had such a deeper love and understanding for this culture I have been already a part of that my pops and moms introduced me to. By the time I got to this project, I heard the project first and felt something. I felt something different that I had never heard from an instrumental album. Then I was told a story, and bro, like, it's just, the goosebumps all over were insane. But as you get more details of this and you understand that this was made from a place of pain, this was made to soothe those like his mother around him, and he dedicated himself to his craft even in the days where his fingers and his body wasn't functioning as normal. He still showed up to do what God put him on this earth to do.
But the end of his life didn't spell the end of his artistic legacy. In fact, Jay Dilla's music has only become more appreciated and more influential over the years, with Donuts now being considered one of the best instrumental hip-hop albums of all time.
Facts.
And one of the best albums of its decade. Many people even consider Jay Dilla the inventor of lo-fi hip-hop, and one of the most influential producers in the history of the genre.
Okay. I'm finna piss some producers off. That's Diet Dilla. I said what I said.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You lo-fi niggas need to know what you need to know your place. All right. I know they're saying that he is the creator of lo-fi. Them drums, Q-Tip used to say this. He had nigga drums. Them shits hit. It wasn't that with birds and shit flying in the background and flutes going ever so softly. No, that's not what he did. I understand why they say that, though, because obviously through the soulful boom bap that he did, between a lot of the experimental production that he did, it definitely is in the DNA of lo-fi, but don't get it twisted. I look at lo-fi hip-hop, and this is no disrespect to my guys that are in that space, but I look at lo-fi hip-hop as the smooth jazz of jazz, right? So you got your Coltrane's, you got your Miles Davis's, and then you got your, smooth jazz. 95.7, no way. I don't even play the smooth jazz no more, which is crazy. But yeah, it's funny because I saw the comments had issues with this particular part of it, but you got to give him credit, because a lot of these kids are diet versions of Dilla. Keto. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what else I can say. Vegan boom bap is crazy.
There are so many skills that go into making a good beat. You have to choose good snares, kicks, bass, hi-hats. You have to either sample, program, or record a melody. You have to mix the beat. You have to structure the chords. It's a very complex craft. But Questlove, the drummer in Philadelphia band The Roots, said in a 2012 interview that one of the strangest things about Jay Dilla was that he wasn't even a musician in the classical sense. He just had a sound in his head and was able to put it onto tape flawlessly. He clarified what he meant with a story from the recording sessions for Welcome to Detroit, J Dilla's debut album. The day after he recorded Think Twice for Welcome to Detroit, I look at the drum set and I was like, wait, you recorded that on this? And it was the most dingiest, dirtiest, not even secondhand. It looked like the Fat Albert Junkyard Gang drum set. Screws were missing, some of the heads were broken. Matter of fact, he didn't even use real drumsticks on Think Twice. He used a vibraphone mallet, and he had a broken drumstick that he got some toilet paper from the bathroom and some rubber bands.
Don't let me find out Dilla was a DIYer, huh?
Why?
Don't let me find out Dilla was a DIYer. Questlove, the legendary drummer from the Roots band, said that he pulled up on J Dilla and he's listening to what he's doing and he's watching his setup and he's like, yo, what is this old rink-a-dink drum set? You don't even got a real drum, drumsticks. Like you're not even. What are you doing? He's using a mallet, you know what I'm saying, instrument. But he's doing this because he's a scientist that has experimented in a way that is so unorthodox that he could create his own unique sound through the process of it. It's part of his signature sound. You know, you see so many producers that crack open their DAWs and be trying to emulate what Dilla did. And it's like, that's not even the ounce of the creativity that he was rocking with. He was looking in the room and seeing what he had and how he could manipulate it in a way that would stretch even his own creativity. That's the roots of what we're talking about. So when you get people in here trying to like whitewash what his situation was, it's unfortunate because it's like, dog, he was a DIYing pioneer, especially with the way that he even utilized the MPC, as you'll see.
I was like, you would rather go through this MacGyver shit than buy new drumsticks? And he was like, I didn't know where to get them this late at night. I had to make do. I was like, well, why did you hit the drums with the mallet? He said, I didn't want the dynamic to be too aggressive. I wanted it to sound muted, so I decided to play the drums with a soft cotton mallet. It looked like putting a marshmallow at the end of a toothpick. Next thing I know, I'm flying to Philadelphia, I think the next week, to work on the new Roots record. I tracked both Quills and Pussy Galore the same way. I went and got some orchestra mallets, and then I too got started, just because I had seen how he got that sound. Basically, J Dilla had a natural talent for creating unique sounds from any tools he had access to. And his sampling techniques would go on to change hip-hop forever. But before he added nuance and compositional complexity to the practice of sampling, Dilla himself was inspired by DJ Marley Marl and Pete Rock, two producers and DJs from New York. Marley Marl was one of the first producers to sequence new drum patterns by chopping individual drum sounds from popular drum breaks. And Pete Rock followed in his footsteps by being one of the first producers in the 90s to start looping jazz and funk samples in hip-hop beats. It's important to know about these guys from New York who came before Dilla, because they served as such a big inspiration to him. But the thing about Dilla is that he took their techniques even further by using his MPC 3000 to create entirely new rhythmic, harmonic, and melodic material from samples.
The things that Dilla would do with samples, he would take these samples that you've heard a million times and manipulate them in a way where it didn't sound anywhere near the original through the utilization of small micro chopping, through different time signatures, through pitching these sounds down and up, through just rearranging certain sounds. He would give you these sounds and it's like, how the hell did you do that? It can only be somebody who's in a flow state. It can only be somebody who is so in love with the creative process that they're not questioning what they're doing. They're just allowing, wherever these ideas come from, a higher power that filter into the process. They're just allowing these things to happen.
In a 2013 interview, Questlove described J Dilla's ability to chop a sample as being equivalent to solving a 10,000-piece puzzle in record time.
This is facts.
Another fundamental aspect of J Dilla's production was a lack of quantization.
For those who don't know, quantizing is the process that you use in order to perfectly line up all of the melodies that you play using MIDI. So let's say you play a keyboard melody on whatever MIDI keyboard, and you might have made some errors. You might have, like, some of the keys that you pressed weren't perfectly lined up. When you use quantization, you set whether you want it to quantize based on a 16th or an 8th note.
Having come to prominence in the late 80s, quantization had become an industry standard technique. J Dilla, however, didn't use the quantizing functions on his MPC 3000. In an attempt to make the music sound more human and less electronic, he sequenced his drums like he was playing a real drum set.
This is very important because when you talk about the J Dilla sound, one word that you always hear get thrown around is swing. Swing. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, I know there's a lot of folks on here who make music, but those of you that are unfamiliar, it's the difference between watching a beginner drummer and an experienced drummer, or a drummer that is used to just playing according to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and more. And the difference between the drummer that's just sometimes when they hit the snare, it's a little bit early, above whatever the metronome is, or it's a little bit behind. No matter what, it feels human. And to be human is to have error. And that's something that J Dilla not only embraced, but he turned into an art form. To me, in a very similar way that you saw Jimi Hendrix turn what used to be a no-no in terms of guitar sounds and distortion. When the distortion came up, it was seen as an error. Jimi Hendrix leaned into it and made it a part of his sound. And then now we're, giving him all the credit for, revolutionizing the way that guitarists use that sound. Dilla, in the same way, I think, used swing and hip hop in a way that was like, oh, we can do that? Wait a minute, that still feels on, even though it's not necessarily lined up when you put it in Serato or you lined up with another song. But it just sounds like, okay, this is not about finding the perfect on-beat beat. This is about finding his beat and understanding that it's still on beat. That makes sense?
This resulted in his kick patterns often being completely offbeat in relation to the rest of the percussion. But thanks to his incredible talent, he was able to create laid-back, comfortable-sounding beats that just worked. Dilla was also known for the way he used his Moog synth to create bass lines. Before Dilla, hip-hop bass lines were most often just sampled from older music genres like funk or soul, such as Dr. Dre's frequent use of George Clinton bass lines. But J Dilla actually used his Moog synth to create counter melodies that contrasted the main melodies of the instrumental. On the Slum Village song Get This Money, he composed a counter melody to the sample of Herbie Hancock's Come Running to Me that served as the primary melody in the song's beat. While the main vocal melody descends chromatically, Dilla's bass line sticks to an Aeolian model counter melody, as opposed to playing only the pedal bass notes featured in the chord progression. Dilla's natural mastery of music theory and composition propelled him to levels of great influence among his contemporaries. During his lifetime, he produced songs for A Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Busta Rhymes, Janet Jackson, Phife Dawg, The Roots, Common, and Ghostface Killah. Posthumously, his beats have been used or sampled on tracks by Drake, Big Sean, Erykah Badu, Joey Badass, Nas, Lupe Fiasco, and XXXTentacion. And while that's a significant...
Just think about the range of that, man. Just think about having a set. Like, to me, when that happens in hip-hop, it means that you tapped into something that goes deeper than just your era of music. You've tapped into something in the soul that is going to resonate, something that has evergreen and forever type of quality, to the point where you can get a XXXTentacion, a Tribe Called Quest, a Slum Village, to all agree upon something, even though these are completely different sounds. It's from sometimes completely different regions. To me, you got to tap into the soul. You got to tap into something that's just like, I don't care how old I am, that makes me feel something. That's so rare. I think somebody that does a good job of that today is Alchemist. He just released a new project with 2 Chainz and Larry June. I think he's doing a good job of finding how to marry those two, all the eras together. But that's something that cannot be put off to the side, man. So I want to highlight something else here, which is a video that covers a video about one of my favorite instrumentals from J Dilla off of the Donuts project, which is called Don't Cry. And, I've heard stories about this being an instrumental that he dedicated, or possibly dedicated, to his mom, who obviously saw him struggling and fighting through lupus. And as he was making music, and it says early in the story, she's massaging his fingers and, just trying to comfort him in whatever way that she can. When you think about it in context of him possibly dedicating this to his mom, who's watching him, go through this, it hits you in the feels. And I never forget when somebody told me that story. I was never able to confirm it, but when I was told that story, I was like, yo, that's why it feels the way it does. So shout out to Back to the Boom Bap. Let's peep this out.
Let's talk about Don't Cry. Don't Cry is one of my favorite tracks on Donuts. So I was happy when the channel called Vox, or Vokes, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, did a dedicated video on J Dilla's sampling techniques and mentioned this song.
There are so many songs that show J Dilla's ability to flip a sample, but there's one that gives me goosebumps every time I hear it.
I can't stand to see you cry now, baby, now.
A lot of people think sampling is easy because they're like, oh, they're just listening to the melody on top, but they're not thinking about what the instruments below that lead melody are doing and how they're playing a role in the beat.
The first 40 seconds of Don't Cry is just a few long loops of the Escorts' I Can't Stand to See You Cry. He barely did anything with them. He's basically saying, this is all I have to work with. At 40 seconds, though, he says, now look what I can do with this MPC. Instead of chopping to the melody, he chopped up a handful of kicks and snares throughout the entire song, regardless of the melody on top of it. And like little puzzle pieces, he resequenced those kicks and snares to create this entirely new, dream-like song.
101. I remember listening to this the first time, and I was blown away, not just by the sample chops in the process they talked about here, which I wasn't familiar at the time of, but just the change in pace, man. Like, there's something that when you think about, you know, the way that DAWs are set up, even the one that I use, the program I use to make music in, FL Studio, they're not always set up to have like this freedom away from the grid that he took advantage of in the MPC. But man, such a beautiful, beautiful instrumental.
Don't Cry also blew Knife Wonder's mind. Listen as he explains why this track is so special to him.
So Dilla mastered the art of taking a sample without stretching it, chopping it up, and playing it fast. If you hear in the song, there's kicks and snares in the song. So he, instead of doing like we did, or used to doing, chopping the sound, he chopped the kick and the snare, and played the kick and the snare no matter what came with it, right?
So he took different parts of the kicks and the different parts of the snares, and regardless of what music was on top of it, obviously there's different keys and different chord progressions, different vocals being recorded over the top of them. He just chopped them up and said, I'm going to make this make sense by any means necessary. And he created a classic. Look at Crisis. Insane, bro.
Yeah, I don't care.
Did you notice how all Knife Wonder's fellow producers in Soul Council were doing the same hand gestures in rhythm and in unison as the track was playing?
I can't help it, bro. That's what music do. I'm not a part of Soul Council. I'm just saying, and as a producer, you can't help it, man. This is like, I had one of my subscribers, shout out to Sanisha, was like, why you doing interpretive dance, Curtis? I can't help it. When this music hits your soul, I can't. I don't know. I'm a civilian throwing up imaginary gang signs. It's crazy. Just get in your soul and get you acting different. That's the ancestors moving through. That's all that is.
That's a producer thing.
It's
weird, but that's just what we do. If it's not the head nod, then we got them hands going. Even though we lost this great but humble man at the young age of 32 in 2006, Dilla's legacy will never be forgotten.
Man, first of all, yeah, round of applause, man. One can only hope to be able to leave behind a legacy that strong. J Dilla was absolutely one of one. Now, I want to bring this whole thing home, and I want to make sure that we honor not just the legend, not just the mythical presence of J Dilla, but also Man, Jay Dilla was a nigga from Detroit. Jay Dilla was a real one. He was a real one. I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never get a chance to meet him, but the more you start to see the people that he aligned himself with and the way that they talked about him, the more you saw that. And it's funny because I think that when I came into becoming a fan of Jay Dilla officially, I had been fans of a lot of the songs that he had had no idea that he made certain songs that I fell in love with. When I came into the picture and then I started to talk to other fans, namely one of my day ones, this is my guy, Ital Santos. He is actually an engineer and a producer, an artist that I have worked with. I was part of a label. Matter of fact, the first indie label that I signed to, he signed me. He was the one that really put me on to a lot of this. And during a recent live stream, I brought up this theory that he had for me. Because I think a lot of people, like even like that first video, I had to stop because they were trying to get into this whole, Dilla is lo-fi, and it's like, no, Dilla is Dilla, and lo-fi is lo-fi because of a Dilla. Whatever the point was being, it doesn't matter. I like hearing these stories about like he wasn't just this hip hop purist. Peep this section out here, and then I'm gonna back it up with another story here from a member of Slum Village.
Man, some real shit, you know what I mean?
You know what I want you to break down, because you always had a really interesting theory about Dilla that I think a lot of like late Dilla fans who were late to the party they always hold him up in like this, super boom bap god of things. Yeah. And like they try to make it like he's on some purist hip hop and like he don't mess with nothing else. He wouldn't have liked it. Dilla wouldn't have liked this. And what's your theory on that? And give them the references, because you be knowing your catalog.
Dilla was just the regular ass cat who loved going to strip clubs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Real shit, man.
I mean, you showed me some songs for the first time. I was like, I had never heard this part of Dilla. I had heard the classic stuff. Yeah. And like, it's still classic, but I heard the stuff that was like what people identify. It's almost like MLK speeches. They always talk about like, I have a dream. And it's like, he got some really revolutionary speeches.
And he was flashy too. He like wearing them chains and
Dilla
all that.
Like them chains. He showed me videos. He was like, yeah, I know you don't want to hear that. You want to...
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You want to call a man a Detroit legend, but you don't want to acknowledge that the man loves some strip clubs. And we gonna talk about it, man. No disrespect to no family. This is just telling a whole story. You gonna tell my story, you tell my whole story, damn it. Don't you go telling them when I'm gone, long and gone, don't you tell them about Curtis King being man, he was just a revolutionary voice for the DIYers. No, Curtis was an asshole. You know what? Curtis like boobies. Curtis like a booty on his wife. He like a booty on his wife. Curtis like a booty on his wife. You tell my whole damn story. So shout out. Okay, so this interview you about to see right now is actually with T3 from Slum Village. Peep it out.
We was doing our early music. Everything we was doing was based on comedy, believe it or not. So we would do a lot of jokes. We would laugh a lot, and then we would get creative. When we first started, we used to do like impressions of people and just like mad comedy. Everything was like mad comedy inspired into music. And so the vibe would be Dilla put on his headphones, come with some stuff, and then he'll play it, and then we'll write and build from the song from there, from that. That's how most of the records were made. Or sometimes it just be me and Dilla, and then we call about 10, or then sometimes it be Dilla and he call us. But you know what I'm saying? But that's mostly how the process started off with us making our early music. Now, when in the later years, it got a little different when Dilla got money and we wasn't quite on yet. He got on for production. He used to come through, he used to come swoop us up, make the beat, go to the titty bar, and expect us to have something when he came back. You know, that was his MO. So everybody know, you ask Common, you ask anybody, he took everybody to the titty bar.
Imagine taking Common in the height of his conscious rap era. Hey, Common, you trying to go to the strip club? There is a light that shines special for two boobies. Imagine taking Common. Was that too much? That's hilarious. You know, Dilla was like, if Dilla could get Common to go to a strip club, Dilla was a rare one.
That was his inspiration. I don't know, you know, like women can
be my inspiration too. Just my wife.
Be, as you know, the strip club culture of Detroit, period, and the Slum Village influenced a lot of records He had by 10 in the strip club.
Oh, y'all ain't gonna. I know some of you hip hop purists ain't gonna like that. While you talking shit about these rappers, all they talk about is your Gotti jury, and it's about the strippers. And how angry are you when you figure out Slum Village Climax was made as a byproduct of these brothers going to the strip club? How you feel about that, huh?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
How you feel about that? You cool? You all right over there? For those who didn't know, I should say. It's mostly the younger listeners, but...
10 was like a earthy, vegan... He didn't care if it was common. You coming to see some titties. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter with that. That was a part of... If you think about Slum Village's sound, it's like soul music, but it's like street kind of lyrics, because we was talking about Detroit stuff. That's the yin and yang of what we was. Yeah. We was hood, but we were soulful. That kind of makes our vibe. That's what made us different from like Tribe, because we just the stuff we was talking about. We was talking about Range Rovers and chicks and just vulgar stuff like that, and over soulful music. You know what I'm saying? So.
And the thing about it is, it's not like it's just making stuff up. It's from a place of reality, man. First of all, one more time, let's honor the OG. Let's honor the legend, man. Let's honor the legend. The entire whole human being, the genius, the master magician with the samples, but also the nigga that likes some titties. He just like to go to a strip club. Well, I sound like Bill Gates. You like to go to a strip club and they like to get a little inspiration from the Berbers. They live in the Berbers. Okay, I'm sorry to the ladies watching right now. But you know, reality is reality. Man, I salute Dilla. I salute Dilla. And he remains a constant inspiration to a producer like myself, especially when I think about, man, I had this theory the other day when I was talking to my guy Niles, one of my subscribers on here. I said, Niles, can you imagine if, my homie said too, I was like, could you imagine if Dilla had Serato's sample? Can you imagine if he had even just an ounce of the tools that we have today? I mean, I know he was using the MPC. I'm not saying that he wouldn't, you know, of course, utilize his classic tools, but I could only imagine what it would be like if you set him up with some of the AI stem separation. He didn't need it, and he still made these incredible records. But give him that. Give him the access to, you know, a lot of these VSTs. How mad would y'all be to see Dilla on Ableton or on FL Studio? Oh, Curtis, you doing too much. Okay, well, I'll take it away from that. Let's honor Dilla. I honored him yesterday to the best of my ability. Obviously, that video got, you know, railroaded, but today we're going to honor him. And also, man, rest in peace to Irv Gotti as well. DIYers, these are my thoughts. You let me know what you thinking. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Don't be greedy. Peace.